Hey, Michael, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you, man.
Oh, no problem. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know who you are, I'm just going to read your bio straight out of your newsletter. I love it. And then maybe as I read it, I can just ask you a question. So, Michael Tanzillo is currently the head of technical artists with the Substance 3D team at Adobe. I mean, that's pretty awesome. How long you been doing that?
It's been about 4 years now, so since
Wow.
2021. Yeah,
Okay, and you enjoy obviously your job?
yeah, it's great. It's a dream come true opportunity. I joke that I did undergraduate in photography, and that was back when it was just darkroom photography, and then all of a sudden this thing called Photoshop started creeping in, and I told myself I would never use this tool. I like the chemical mixing and I like the darkroom process, and 25 years later, here I am working at Adobe. So it's amazing how things
Wow.
change. But yes, I'm very excited about my job.
You like me, you've been around the block, man. Yeah. So previously a senior artist that animated films at Blue Sky Studios, now owned by Disney, with credits including three Ice Ages, one of my favorites. That's amazing. Rios. My kids, oh my God, we watched Rios like 100 times on repeat when they were little, you know. Peanuts, Ferdinand, Spies in Disguise, and Epic. I love Epic too. I love the little slug, the snail in there. It just,
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm so glad you saw it. That was the project that I was most excited about because I was a lighting artist, but also that meant that I dealt a lot with the kind of the camera attributes. Other people would set the camera, but I would handle like the depth of field values and all that kind of stuff. And I just had so much fun working at that micro macro level, like that tiny
yeah.
level that and I really enjoyed that movie. And I'm glad that other people have seen it. So that's good.
Yeah, no, we've seen it a few times. And how did you end up at Blue Skies? I mean, just even that alone is insane. That's awesome.
Yeah. So as I mentioned before, I started in photography and then I was a little lost. I was actually just bartending. I was not a very good photographer. And so I was watching Finding Nemo on the old Netflix DVDs. And there was a special behind the scenes that was like showing these artists going scuba diving off the coast of Australia to gather the look of the ocean. And then they would use that. And this is the part that got me. It was like, oh, they would use that reference to set the mood for individual parts of Finding Nemo, and they were called lighting artists. It was a job I had no idea existed, but this idea of using lighting to tell stories was like so important to me as what I enjoyed about photography. And so I looked into it and then started teaching it to myself. I started applying for jobs right away and was wildly unqualified for them, like not even close.
Wow.
And so I went back to grad school. I went to the Savannah College of Art and Design, and I spent 3 years in the visual effects program there. And then after that, I was at SIGGRAPH and interviewed for a job, which at the time was called a lighting technical assistant, which was a nice way of saying render wrangler. So I was just keeping the lights on, making sure the air conditioning was running in the rendering room, running some very simple like scripts, debugging some renders, helping people with menial tasks and that kind of thing. So that's how I got started.
Hmm.
And then from there it was I got to light a couple shots on Ice Age 3, and then I got promoted to junior lighting artist, and then mid level, and then senior, and then by the end I was actually the head of the training department there. So we
Wow.
were transitioning to a new pipeline. So I was helping with that. It was just like a yeah. It was just I loved it. So I spent as much time as I could
Wow.
doing the work there. So it was a blast.
That's amazing. It's a combination of passion and then, I mean, some luck, right? You got into like the coolest place ever. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
it was definitely luck. Like I definitely if I look back at my career, I was very fortunate to be surrounded by incredible people who were helpful and kind. And the professor. I would just start shouting people out. Like Bridget Gaynor was my professor in college
Wow.
who taught me how to light. There's people I worked with at Blue Sky like Kaji Usato and Jim Gettinger, who were the supervisors at the time and of the lighting department, and gave me a chance and coached me when I did things terribly wrong, and like helped guide me into to being a better artist. And I just yeah, and countless people there that I learned so much from over the
Wow.
years.
That's incredible, man. All right, I'll keep going. We're only halfway. Co-author of the book Lighting for Animation, The Visual Art of Storytelling, and the co-founder of the Academy of Animated Art, an online school that has helped hundreds of artists around the world begin careers in animation, visual effects, and digital imaging. I mean, you wrote a book, you started an academy. I mean, this is really cool.
Yeah. So about 3 or 4 years into the job at Blue Sky, I was starting to do like recruiting trips to colleges, and me and another writer, a woman named Jasmine Katadakar, both were talking to students at different trips, and we kind of came back and we both realized the same thing, that the things that students were learning in school was a little bit different than what they needed to be doing in order to get a job in the animation industry. It was a lot of focus on software tools and specifics, and they just wanted to know where all the buttons were. And they would say things like, this was back when they were like, next quarter I'm learning mental ray, and then my stuff will look better. And when we're working in the industry, like, dude, our tools are not as good as the stuff that's off the shelf. Like, it has nothing to do with tools. You have to be a better artist. Like, and that comes with critiques and good understanding of composition values and how to create mood in your shots, and like how to make a character's eyes look, and all these things that you realize the teachers aren't really, and to no fault of their own, because the industry changes quickly, but it was like, these are the things that we focus on every single day. So I started an online school with Jasmine to teach people how to light for animated films. And so we did that for like 10 years. She's still doing it. And and then while we were doing that, we got reached out to by a publisher and asked if we would write a book about the topic as well. So that was an 18-month journey of that. That was that. And I'm still in touch with those books. I still have people reaching out. I think that book came out 2016 or 2017. It's now been like 8 years ago. But we wrote it again, like without software in mind. It was all about the principles of lighting and the principles of visual storytelling. And so, I mean, so we knew that it wasn't a financial decision. It was what we genuinely believed, but it was like, because you need to understand these foundations. And if you have these skills, there's no software, that can touch you.
It's funny, not to jump the gun, because I'm planning on asking you a couple important questions, but like all this knowledge that you're describing, that's going to be crucial moving forward with all these automated AI tools, because you need to guide it, prompt it, you need to know what you're looking for. So everything you're describing in that book is still crucial. And I almost feel like 100 years from now, it's still going to be valuable,
Yeah, I mean, it's been like this forever. It's been just different art mediums, and the ability. I mean, honestly, the superpower skill that good artists have is not that ability to make something great the first time. It's to make something and look at it and go, this isn't good enough, and I know why, because I have these skills.
Yes.
Like, you'll be able. That's the hardest thing when you're first getting started, is to look at your work and be like, this doesn't match what I know it needs to be, but I don't know the steps to do it, and that takes time and effort and experience, basically, and then critiques from other people who have been through it, who can help you see the little things. Because once you see it, it's like a lightning bolt strikes, and you're like, all of a sudden, it's like, oh, there it is, I got it.
Yeah, you literally hit the secret formula of becoming a better artist. That's amazing. And then finally, you also created the 3D artist community on School and the 3D artist newsletter, and that's how I found you. I follow your newsletter, and I love it, and I encourage everyone to sign up for it.
Yeah. So that stuff, man. I am old. So that stuff is. So in 2021, Blue Sky Studios shut down. It was Disney closed it down, and I thought I was like, you know what? I want to teach online, and I want to just be a freelance artist, and this is what I want to do. And I had a bit of a bummer realization when I started doing that I was like, man, I actually really like working at big companies. Like, I actually kind of like the idea of working with people and coming up with an idea and building consensus and convincing other people it's a good idea. And because it's the only way to kind of like, it's the way that I find being most effective to build bigger things. And got an opportunity there was a temp job at the time at Adobe with the Substance team to be a demo artist. So I was just going to be presenting the tools, and I thought, okay, this is cool. I'll be able to do some demos, do some training with companies on the Substance tools. I'll be able to make connections with gaming studios and visual effects companies and animation houses and that kind of thing, and I'll be able to find my next gig that way. And I got in, and I was like, I'm not talking to any animation studios or visual effects houses or gaming studios. Instead, I'm only talking to automotive makers and footwear designers and fashion designers and companies that make toothpaste and hand lotions and roofing shingles and architecture things. It's all, and I was like, wait a second. And I had no idea there were all these different industries that utilize 3D, but they utilize them in different ways, right? It's much less about making these beautiful pixels that appear on screen. Like that stuff still matters because that's part of the marketing. But there's also this whole other industry of companies that are using 3D to validate their design processes. So like if you design a shoe, normally what they would do is they would, draw it in a hand sketch or design in Illustrator, and then send it to a manufacturer who would make a prototype, and then they'd look at it and be like, no, I don't like this, send it back. It's like, and it's just time consuming and wasteful. And so what they do is they now do a couple of the early iterations in 3D at some of these companies, and then it reduces the environmental impact, the cost, and you're like, oh dang, it's not about like tweaking the render settings. It's about like creating something that you can visually give feedback on and feel confident looks right. So I didn't know any of this existed, and this was at a time that the VFX, animation, gaming industries were kind of taking a downturn. And, there was a writer's strike and jobs were starting to go away. So I was like, I thought I was going to write another book. And I was like, I'll write another book about this process. And I was like, oh man, writing a book was really hard. I don't know if I want to do it again. So I'll just start with a Substack newsletter. And I just started posting them, and it really gained traction and people have responded to it well. And then I got some requests of like, hey, how do we do more with this space? So I started an online community. It's on a platform called School. And it's kind of a unique setup that it took me a while, because I joined Discord servers before, and I joined other online communities and never felt like a connection. They were always felt like, I don't know, there's something about it that felt very almost transactional. Like people would just be like, hey, can you help me with this? Hey, can you help me with that? And it's just like, I wanted to build a space where people could collaborate a little bit more. And so I looked into it and I studied it, and it was like, the key unlock is, it turns out is $20. So I had people pay $20 a month to join. I don't profit at all. In fact, I lose money on the community pretty regularly, because all that money goes into a pool, and then we use it's like a co-op. So all that money gets voted on by the members to how we use it. So we use it for workshops and software to share and things like that. So, but the whole point of the community is to bring people together from different facets of the 3D world. So we have, again, like fashion designers, footwear designers, immersive content, product visualization, gaming artists, and that kind of thing. So it's a lot of people coming together to share ideas and make sure that everyone's in a position where they know what's going on. Because when I got laid off, like I said, I didn't know any of this stuff existed, and I felt pretty handcuffed and pretty beholden to like just these handful of companies, whether or not they had job openings or not. So it's a real opportunity for 3D artists and like to get together and just share their stories and their journees and learn from each other. And it's just like, I just make friends there now. It's just my place to hang out.
It's amazing.
So
it's
cool.
like networking. It's like being part of a club. Yeah, that's a really cool. It's so awesome that you're doing that for other people. That's amazing. So I'm going to include a link for anyone who wants to find you below this video, and that's incredible. Let me hit you with a few questions. I just have my Discord channel. I do have a lot of people that are concerned and uncertain with everything that's changing, the way it's headed. What does it mean? Do we even need logos anymore? Like all this stuff. So, because you can just create it, with AI and some thousands of different apps. So what would you tell like a new artist who feels uncertain about this whole space that we're like shifting?
Well, I have lots of thoughts. So first off, the way that, to be clear, the industry is changing. The old rules don't really apply anymore. The way that I used to teach people how to light, which was this idea that studios had these like, established pipelines, and the whole role of school was to like, and they had these pipelines set up, and they had like very clear lanes. It was like you were a lighting artist, you were a material artist, you were a rigging TD, like whatever, and you had to build a portfolio that demonstrated that you could do those jobs, so that when they hired you, they could just slot you right in, just another person into the role, then continue on. And that was the secret formula of getting a job 10 years ago, and people did that, and now we've got a lot of people that can do that. That pipeline doesn't really work anymore because it's too expensive and slow, and a lot of it is like because games aren't selling as much, movies aren't selling as many tickets as they used to. Just the economics of it have changed. Like I heard recently this thing that said that for Hollywood movies, 700 million is the new billion, which is such a terrible way of saying something. But but basically what they're saying is like less people are going to the movies, more people are streaming stuff at home. There's less profits, therefore there's just like less ability. I mean, before you would like all those movies that you listed that I worked on, they were all $150 million projects, but every single one of them was profitable because we knew people would go see animated movies. So it was like, just make them decent, make them good, have good quality, have a decent story, and people will go see them. It doesn't really work that way anymore. So what I tell students now is a few things. From the entertainment pipeline standpoint, in pretty much every company that I talk to, what they're before again they were looking for, can you slot into these pre-existing roles? Now all of these companies are working really hard to keep themselves profitable and keep themselves relevant and keep the lights on and the doors open, which means that they have zero time to investigate any of these new tools. Right? They see the same things that y'all are seeing. They're seeing new tools pop up. They're seeing AI workflows. They're feeling left behind. They're feeling out of the loop. Like literally every day something new pops up. So the first thing that I would tell them is your value to companies now is being the one that can help them adopt these new workflows. So it's your job to be curious, to be interested, and to vet these tools. Because when I was at SeaGraph, one of the things I heard over and over again from my old R&D friends who work at Netflix and Disney and all these places, they all said the same thing. Somebody sees something on LinkedIn about some new tool, they send it to R&D to vet, we vet it, it does not do what it says it's going to do, but it can kind of do like some things, maybe a little bit. And so tools are either not useful at all or only useful in small amounts in certain ways. And so it's like, but companies don't have the ability, like those are like the mammoth companies that are out there. It's like they need, but where your value can come in is like you can find the value in these tools and start piecing together new workflows that allow you to create things faster, have more control. And honestly, the way to do it is just try and do projects yourself. Like I did this recently when I was like, I read a book this summer I really liked, and I set myself up with the task of making a movie trailer for this story that I read that I really liked. And I tried it and I realized I'm never going to release it because I'm going to keep trying again because like this is my goal. Like until I can reach this milestone of being able to produce something in the way that I want to create it and still have the creative control over it, like that's kind of my milestone right now for these new tools. But yeah, that's the first step is like, it's not like the companies have this figured out. They absolutely don't. In fact, they're further behind than you are and they have less time to look into it than you do. And they're bogged down by like old processes and people who just want this old workflow. So if you can demonstrate new stuff, awesome. The second thing is that don't buy the hype. Don't allow yourself to fall for the hype of these things. We live in a world where companies find, so we saw this in the last cycle of app startups, like again, you know, the Ubers and the Airbnbs and all these companies that did two things, and these are important to pay attention to. Number one is that they made all that they were all disruptors in the space. They all, like Airbnb disrupted hotels, Uber disrupted taxi cabs. Like they all need to disrupt something. So that's a foundation one. Foundation two is that they all were not profitable for a very long time and just like were about gathering users and getting VC money, venture capital money to fund them. And now they've changed and they all have to be profitable. So if you notice, Ubers are a heck of a lot more expensive now, and now they're just the same price as taxi cabs. Airbnbs are crazy expensive because they have to be profitable too. And so it's like, so that is like how people think that business is done. So when these AI companies came out with this new opportunity for the next, you know, $1 billion, $1 trillion company or whatever, they followed that same formula. So their disruptor was creative people and people who make things. And so it's like that's how they gained interest from VCs to get the funding. And now they're releasing tools on overhyped promises that don't do what they say they're going to do. And also none of them, like they're not that like none of them are really profitable yet. The investment into the technology far outweighs what is profitable. It's only a matter of time before companies start being like, the investors start being like, hey, can we get some money back on this thing that we gave you all the money for? And so they're going to have to like start dialing up the price or something's going to change there in the future. Now, all that being said is that it's not just all up and to the right for AI. It's not like everyone just makes the assumption, well, obviously it's just going to keep getting better and better. Like, no, obviously it is not going to keep getting better and better. Like it'll tap out the way that everything else does. Like,
wait, this point right here, I love that. I really want everyone, whoever is listening, to like pay attention to this part, because this blew me away when I saw like your take on it. Like that really brought me a lot of peace. Well,
the thing, I mean, there's a few things. Are you talking about what I just wrote about? Because I say
I'm talking about the idea that it's actually built on hallucination is a glitch, and it's the engine like that. I'm assuming that's where you're headed.
Yeah. Okay, I just want to make sure I was in the right path. It was like, because sometimes I say things in podcasts like a year ago, and I'm like, oh wait, what did I talk about? No. So here's the thing. So AI is, if you look at what it does, its strength, its entire thing is that it takes data and information and hallucinates new information based on that. It makes a good guess at what you want based on information. Now, I work with a lot of companies so pretty much every company outside of entertainment is doing one thing with 3D at some level. They're making a digital representation of whatever product they make in 3D space. And the same way that you go into reviews for a Pixar movie or like whatever, or a Blizzard game or whatever, everything has to be pixel perfect in those things. Like you are scrutinizing every bit.
Like you can't have three ears in the awesome character. You just can't do
yes,
three.
exactly. You can't have 6 fingers. And it has to look the same and consistent from shot to shot to
Right.
shot to shot. So for product companies, even something as simple as a soda can, right? You're like, oh, company makes a soda can, cool. They just have to make they just have to make a version of it. Like, no, that's the way it looks in the United States. It looks different in Canada. It looks different in Mexico. It looks different in Guatemala. It looks different in Tunisia and Japan and Australia. Like every company has their own region. So for every single product, there are hundreds of variations.
And if you don't get it right, you get sued.
Exactly. And that's exactly right. So these companies have to maintain pixel perfect accuracy in all of their shots. And so you cannot do that with AI. I mean, I'm not saying that as like a 3D person who benefits from that information. I'm saying that having talked to people who research and do this stuff. And they're like, no, that's not what AI does. And the thing I put in the newsletter, which always makes me think of it, when I was bartending in grad school, there was a guy I worked with, and the TV was on in the bar that I was at, and it was like a story about crazed tiger attacks man. And it turns out somebody jumped into the tiger part of the zoo, and a lion and tiger attacked him. And he looked up at it and he was like, that's not a crazed tiger. That's just what tigers do.
That's
like,
a normal tiger.
That's a normal tiger doing that tiger. If he jumped in and the tiger started reading him a book, like that would be a crazed tiger. Yeah. But he was like, but the point is that AI, people are like, oh, AI just needs to get better and better, and then it'll be able to reproduce product images. And it's like, no, it won't, because that's not what it does. It's like, that's asking a tiger to read a book. Like you're asking AI to not do the thing that it benefits from. And what my argument has been up until this point was that like 3D was kind of AI proof, in that you can make you can make images using 3D workflows with AI or without it. And now I will say, I'm changing my tune a little bit to say, like, companies can only get value out of AI outside of just concepting and basic stuff and like rewriting emails. The only way they can get value from images if they use 3D to make sure that their product looks exactly right, and then leverage the speed of AI for everything else. Because the barrier for a lot of these companies using 3D before was that, okay, sure, they can make the can and they can make all the variants of the labels, but like, are they, if to put it on a beach, are they really going to do like a sand simulation to put it on a beach and then do this and then do that to like build everything else around it? But if you can do that with AI and then use, so it's like, the more basic way I say it is like, use 3D for the stuff you care about, and use AI for the stuff that's like a little mushier, that you're just like, oh, I need it to be in a space. And for, again, one more thing is that if, let's say you're this soda company and you need to put your product in a college dorm room or something, like, and you want there to be a backpack and a laptop computer and like whatever, you don't want that. You don't want to have to worry about that stuff being like branded. You don't want to worry about it being like an HP laptop and a Patagonia backpack or whatever. Like, so AI is actually good because it makes generic stuff that's not brand specific. So anyway, like, I can talk for the next.
So it will always take you to like 99% mark, even if it gets like insanely good. But there's always that 1% that is so crucial that you still need humans to alter it or edit it or monitor it.
Yeah, it's like, because people are saying like, oh, it's so good, it's like 98% close right now, and you're like, then it's still unusable. Like it's not that it's 100% or 0%. There's no close.
That's fascinating to know, and I don't think a lot of people realize it. And that's a really good point, because you're right. Everyone who you talk to, everyone says, "Oh, just wait another year because this is the worst it's ever going to be." But you're right. It's built on the idea of mixing and creating a soup out of something that, so it totally makes sense to me. And yeah,
Hmm.
I'm glad you explained that.
And it's a lot of too, like a lot of these AI startups and stuff. They'll put together a flashy video, but you're like, just like, wait a second, you just showed like an AI object. You just showed like a 3D object being swapped out in a video. Where somebody was like holding like that soda can and you replace it with the frosted mug. You're like, wait a second, like hold up, like the reflections change. Like none of that is true. None of
Yeah.
like that's all some comp artist tediously working on a flattened image, a flattened rasterized image of something and like just pulling their hair out for hours and hours and hours. Like I don't buy that stuff for a second.
I love all of it. There's a small, tiny percentage of me that. Did you ever watch that movie, Idiocracy, where everyone just gets
Oh
dumber
yeah,
and dumber? It,
yeah,
it feels like to me, I don't want to like have this come out in the wrong way, but it does feel like to me, like to a certain level, there's some people or consumption, entertainment people that would, or consumers that will just watch the content without even caring that you have six fingers, and it will still do well. So I almost feel like it's an animal that cannot be looked at as something that's being replacing something. It's like another person in the room. Like, how do we
yeah.
deal with yet another thing, you know?
The other equivalent that I'll bring to this is that when we talk about like AI generation of any kind, this is like your iPhone being your camera. And again, I'm old, so I know this, that like, we making a photograph was a lot harder 25 years ago. You had to buy the film, you had to get it processed, you had to have a camera that shot it. To make good ones was even harder because you had to have an expensive camera and do all these things. Um, there are infinitely more photographs taken every day. I don't think there's that many more great ones. There's still professional photographers floating around because when you're doing whatever your craft is professionally, you're always going to be at the very top of the bell curve. You're going to be in
Hmm.
the top 5%. And what these types of things do, like the Gen AI and the digital photography and the cameras in your phone, it just swells the middle. Like the mound in the middle just keeps going up and up. But like the high end stuff is still going to be the high end stuff.
You're right.
And what
Yeah.
you do as a professional artist isn't, you're not making more of something. You're distinguishing yourself from the norm and making something special. You're like, I mean, there's countless hours of 3D content that exists out there, but like the Pixar stuff is great, not both visually and because they tell really great stories. So like, I don't know, man. Like that stuff's still gonna, that stuff's still gonna go through. Because yeah, I'll stop talking. But yeah,
No, no, that's amazing. So so let me ask you one more question. What do you think AI can't replace in what we do as human artists? Like as far as like moving forward, it feels like a lot of people, as this technology getting crazier and crazier and crazier, and it's going to get to the point where you really don't know if you're watching a human avatar or a real avatar. It
Mhm.
does feel like a lot of people are kind of pulling away from the technology, or at
Yep.
least starting to, and it feels
Mhm.
like it's the working in groups or just seeing other humans, like that's going to become more and more important in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, I absolutely agree that like, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I started the online community, was to build a foundation for building more in-person events. Like I host 3D artist meetup events here in San Francisco. We've done them we did one in Chicago. We're going to try and do another one in New York. Me and this guy from Laundry VFX in LA, he started hosting them, and I was like, I went to one in LA, and I was like, this is great. And so we've been trying to do it because I firmly believe that more relationships in person are going to be more important. Because like, if you just follow the trajectory, and this isn't like Gen AI imaging, but like we're at a point right now. I've been on Twitter in a long time, but like um, I was talking to somebody who was like, if you look at the comments, it's just bots talking to bots, and that's
That's
what
what it
like
feels
we're gonna
like.
get to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what all of them are gonna be like. Just like what there's gonna be a point where you're, and I'm surprised we haven't actually reached it because I don't. Um, and it's I think what's gonna happen is like the Sora AI video social media. I was like, that is just like, what are we doing? Like, what is the
Yeah.
point of any of this?
Any of
And
it.
so I
Yeah.
think all that's, yeah. And so I think it's all just going to get so crowded with nothingness that it's just going to
Hmm.
be worthless. And so it's going to turn into junk mail, and we're all just going to be like, okay, let's stop doing this. And we'll find either both real world interactions, immersive space interactions, but there'll be things that verify that you're a human being in a way that wasn't before, because it's just, yeah, I just don't see, yeah, I just think that, humans are ultimately very odd creatures. I think we're all fascinatingly odd. And so we kind of need each other in a way that, like, that ChatGPT always telling me that all my answers are brilliant is not going to do it for me. Like, I need people to push back on me and things like that. So yeah, I do agree that we're that there's always going to be a segment of the world that, you know, doesn't care if people have six fingers or whatever, but like, they're also going to see something of a lower quality and feel that it's a lower quality than something that you're going to produce. And there's going to be like it's something on the inside. It's the same, it's just like bad CG. Like, you look at bad CG in a film and you're like, ugh, like that feels yucky somehow. But like, when it's all seamless, then it feels good. So,
You know, another point I want to bring up, and again, this might be kind of wacky and thinking outside the box, but this is what I do, so I'm just going to say it. Like, a lot of times, if you think about it, when we are put in a structure where we have to sort of compete with each other as artists, as humans, that's just the way the society is built. Then you bring like a tool like AI who completely disrupts everything, right? And it kind of pushes everyone, you know, it makes you think about maybe you're not going to have that same position because, you know, the company can do it with AI. All of those things are sort of brought into the current structure of the way the humans are functioning. But then for a minute, like, sometimes I think, maybe this is crazy, but I think, like, if somebody is like living, you know, in in a house in the forest, like in a, you know, just by themselves, right? And they're just like drinking tea and meditating, and they're just doing art, and there's like peace everywhere. And then they find these AI tools. They would be really excited. They'd be like, oh, I can generate a bunch of concepts and I can have a lot of fun with it. I don't really need to be scared about this paying, you know, interfering with me paying my rent or getting my food. So it's like, it's the way it was brought in. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? Like, you could see it from like a beautiful perspective if you just shift it. You know?
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that I joke that the AI sales pitch was the worst sales pitch in the history of mankind. Like, it's because it was presented as a way of just like, hey, we're going to replace you, and everyone like immediately bristled, like, F you, dude. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
You know, it was all the, you know, rest in peace Pixar like things, and you're just like, okay, that doesn't look good at all. Like, okay, tech bro. But yeah, I think like if I'm envisioning out, because, you know, like, into the future state of where all this is going, I kind of see, I see a few different things. I think, because again, I see more and more companies utilizing 3D in their workflows. So I see, that becoming more and more the norm. And really what I'm seeing is, well, like, okay, so that part is true. I also think that 3D is actually on the same path as video was, however many years ago. So, like, again, video production. It was like, if you wanted to shoot a commercial in the 80s and 90s, you had to hire an agency that had a crew and had like a complex camera equipment and a whole thing. And there was no way a company could do it themselves.
Yeah.
But then, like, things got easier. They got a little more simple. Things got a little more user friendly. So companies started like having their own videographer in house and doing their own video content. And now, like, companies don't even think about video as being anything special. It just falls under content the same way that photos do. And I think that 3D and these types of workflows that'll be aided by AI, but won't be replaced entirely by AI, will slowly follow that path. And we'll just have more companies that are producing 3D content led by 3D. Either it's, you know, guided AI stuff or purely 3D stuff on its own. And it'll just be thought of more and more as content. This idea that we're all 3D artists is going to slowly fade over time to just being like, we're people who make cool images for whatever purpose. And then from the film side, I think that we're entering a phase that is not unprecedented. Like, we had a huge shift in Hollywood films from like the 60s to the 70s. The, you know, the Cleopatras and the Sound of Music and all the the big like tentpole Hollywood films of the 60s just stopped kind of working and audiences stopped reacting to them. And so we had this like onslaught of like new auteur type directors, the Spielbergs and the Godfathers came out, and like, to think that we went from like, it was like a 2 year gap between like The Sound of Music and The Graduate and like, and all these movies that are like just totally different, weird motifs. And I think we're doing that again now. Like we the tentpole films, the equivalent now is like the Marvel movies and the franchise movies and like all those big tentpole things. And like, I think people have really soured on them. Like they've gotten colder on all of those. And now we're at an age where it's like, the production budget doesn't really make sense. We have to figure out, we've got these new tools, we've got new ways of working, we've got new aesthetic styles of an audience. And it's like, I think that's an opportunity for people, for like a young up and coming new set of directors to kind of to grab the reins and define what's next for film. And we're already kind of seeing it. Like, I mean, what are some like the best movies I've seen this year? Like Sinners, Weapons. Like these movies are bananas. Like they're way outside of and like I remember it was even like, there's a weekend where I went with a buddy to see the Thunderbolts movie, and I was like, oh, that was fine. But like, I just watched Superman with my kids, and I was like, oh, fine, totally fine. But like, I don't get super excited about them the way that I feel like people tell me I should. It's just like but I do get really excited when I see Weapons, or when I see like, even like Friendship. Like that movie was crazy weird, but it was like it was really cool. So I just think there's an opportunity right now where everyone's kind of looking around at each other and being like, I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah.
And somebody's going to pick it up, like I was thinking his name, Glintz, who did Flow. Like small team, dedicated, like very specific vision, used Blender, whatever, and created something truly phenomenal. And it's like there's just going to be more people like that.
Michael, thank you so much. I really appreciate all of your wisdom and knowledge and experience. And I think this is going to help a lot of people, and even me, I'm not young in school, but just reading your newsletters really does raise my vibration, and it helps me a lot to understand what's happening. And I love your point of view on all of this.
Thanks so much, man. Yeah, like I said, I'm just making my way through this like everybody else. And it's and I think I have a unique vantage point to help guide people through it. So I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me.
Thanks, Michael. All right. Hopefully I'll have you on again, and I'll just continue following your work.
All right. Take care, everyone. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.